everyone. So now, today was your BST examination. So after English and business, now is the turn for accountancy. Now, guys, I know there are lots and lots of things that you have to do for accounts, but one thing that you can bear in mind is that accounts is a very scoring subject, and with the right amount of guidance, you can easily score up to 90% to 100%. This bracket of 90 to 100 is not something that is, something that is unheard of or anything in accounts. Accountancy is not theoretical basically, so we'll be talking about lots and lots of tips today, wherein the numerical portions, the practical portions where you commit some mistakes are minimized, and your mistake scenario is entirely reduced to zero. So that means basically what we are trying to do is we are trying to move up to the 100% mark, but keeping our expectations a bit in check, we are saying 90 plus. So let's begin with a very brief idea about our course structure. Now, guys, we know that we have 60 marks for partnership and company accounts, whereas 20 marks are for the analysis book. So now those 60 marks, first of all, the partnership and company accounts, that is a bulk of marking for us. So first of all, thinking about partnership, we have how a partnership is run, that is the fundamentals chapter. Then we talk about how the changes come to place, that is change in PSR among existing partners. No partner is coming in or going out, but still there is a change in their relationship. Then we have admission of a partner, that is when a new partner comes into the firm. Then we have retirement or death of a partner. Now, guys, we have to bear in mind that in accountancy, that is in partnership chapter specifically, retirement does not have anything to do with old age. Now, in layman terms, we generally talk of retirement as when a person reaches a certain age and he or she, uh, you know, stops working for an organization. But for partnership, you have to remember that retirement only means exiting from a firm. That is, whenever the partners feel, one or more partners feel that this partnership is no longer viable for them, they may just exit the partnership. Now, death of a partner, as we know, is when a partner is deceased while in course of partnership. Now, talking specifically about retirement and death, I would say these two topics are very much interrelated with a slight difference in them. The difference is that when we're talking about retirement, we are planning that this partner is moving out of the business. So you generally get questions in which the year has already ended. But in case of death, you may get questions wherein the date of death is in between the year, due to which we will have to talk about various separate things like profit till the date of death, IOD, IOC till the date of death, etc. So I'll be coming to these topics in detail as we move further. Then we have dissolution of partnership. So, like, it's a very good chain here. First, we talk about how a business is run. Then we talk about change. Then we talk about a new person coming in. Then some person going out. And finally, the entire business coming to an end. Chapter 6 talks about share capital. Now, share capital chapter we know is focusing on how to issue shares. Now, we very well know, again, I hope you know all, that equity shares can be buyback. Can have a buyback method wherein they can be repaid to the equity shareholders, the money can be repaid to them, and even preference shares can be redeemed. However, we generally talk about share capital being a permanent source of funds. That is why your course only contains the issue portion of shares, not the buyback or redemption portion. Finally, we have issue and redemption of debentures. Now, I have come to terms with this fact that people generally like issue of debentures because it's just like shares, but they hate redemption of debentures because it takes a lot of complex tasks about DRR and DRI, etc. So I'll try to follow them up. And please, guys, whenever you have any doubt in whatever I'm explaining to you, feel free to ask your doubts here. Now, coming to section B, we have those 20 marks reserved for financial statements of a company, analysis of the financial statements, accounting ratios, and CFS. Now, financial statements of a company, that chapter is a very small one, but the main problem is that you have to rote learn the headings that are given in the balance sheet, because again, law or section has to be learned by heart. You must have heard your teachers say that, and same thing I'm saying again, the sequence of the balance sheet items cannot be broken. Hi Jyoti, which chapter comes for more? See, admission would surely come for an 8 marker question here, and retirement is generally as a choice to admission, and death comes separately. So you may say that combinedly, retirement and death will come for more marks than admission. But admission question is sure shot. Hello, Prakhar. Now, accounting ratios and CFS. Okay, like I was telling you about the sequence. So at the end of this class, I have a treat for you. I have made acronyms for the balance sheet headings and subheadings so that you will have no problem in learning them. Okay. Sandhya, they are very easy. All you have to do is make connections between the items in the financial statements, and you will easily be able to understand them. Again, as soon as I will give you the balance sheet format, I will tell you the major relationships there, and they will be very easy for you. Let's start with that then. Now, stick with me for till the end, guys, because last slide itself is the entire balance sheet and the relationships for accounting ratios. They'll make your life easy. Now, important topics for partnership, first chapter. Thank you, Sanjay. P&L appropriation account. As we all know, appropriation word means division or distribution. So, P&L appropriation account is made after the P&L to distribute the profits between the partners. Then, okay, Dipansh, what should be done so we can completely memorize ratio formulas? Again, Dipansh, as I mentioned before, we should have a relationship. If you try to learn the formulas, you will never actually go through all of them. At the time of the exam, you will get confused between various formulas. They just clutter up in your head. All of them merge out. But when you try make the meanings clear, make the relationships clear. For example, if you have capital employed and you learn it as there are three different formulas: debt plus equity, then we have the formula of fixed asset plus working capital. They are like very complex, three formulas, and just understand capital employed means all the money that we have for a long term. So, money we have for long term could be long term borrowed funds or owners' funds. That's it, right? Jyoti, I'll be having it in the last slide. So don't worry, I'll be giving all of them to you. Okay. And Sandhya, I see, Sandhya, this all depends on whether you have done TS Grewal beforehand or not, because going through TS Grewal all questions once is imperative. You need to go through them. They are good questions and they cover every part of your syllabus. But at the same time, if you have already covered them, then I would say that go towards the sample papers as well as go for solving your previous year compartment papers and main papers which are given on the CBSE website. Okay. Now, accounting for partnership, P&L appropriation account, past adjustments, and guarantee of profits. These are the most important three topics that we have here. Change in profit sharing ratio, admission, retirement, and death. In all these chapters, there are some common important points, common important topics. You'll understand them once and they stick with you for all the 4 chapters. First one, revaluation account. Second one, treatment of goodwill. Third, accumulated profits and losses. And fourth, adjustment of capital. The difference would only be slight. Now, let me just talk about these topics a bit. You'll be surprised at how easy they are once you just understand the logic behind them. Now, all of you must remember the nominal account rules, which are debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. Now, the point is that at the time of change, any change in the profit sharing ratio, at the time of reconstitution of business, all the expenses, losses, incomes, and gains are basically substituted by revaluation account. Okay. Sandhya, it was not difficult. It was, you know, difficult for some people because they had focused on only making the accounts, whereas the questions came basically from journals. So, although you're very comfortable in making reval account and partners capital account and balance sheet, but you generally forego making the journals thinking they are easy, I'll be able to do it. And when the entire paper is focusing on the journal entries, it suddenly seems, oh my god, this is blank. So that is why people said it is difficult. It was not anything which was, there was no single topic that came in that paper which was out of course or anything. And Trishna, yeah, I have this question lined up in me right now. I would say go from 1 to 23 or 23 to 1. That is, follow a path. Don't do your questions here and there, and don't keep it in your mind where I am to start. When you see your paper, see the first few questions, which are generally one markers, and then see your CFS, which is the last question always. Then analyze out of these two, which is, can I do CFS without any kind of mistake? Do I think of this question as perfect in my mind, or go to the first few questions and see? Because the first five 3 to 5 pages of your answer sheet should be so good that your impression on the teacher is pre-made. You need that. So after seeing your paper, decide whether you have to go from 1 to 23 or 23 to 1. Don't keep it in your head beforehand. The questions will tell you whether you feel confident enough in the first few questions, because your impression for that teacher is only and only with that answer sheet that you have given them. Now that first 3 pages are flawless. For the rest of the paper, that impression goes on that this is a very good child, this person has done the work very well. And if the first 3 pages are laden with mistakes or cuttings or anything, now in that case you are giving them the impression that you are not very well versed of, you have a confusion, and that will play against you in the entire paper, right? So your impression has to be made. Okay, now coming back here, when I said reval account, always remember that in the reval account, you have debit all expenses and losses. So when I say debit all expenses and losses, if an asset decreases, obviously it's a loss for me. If my liability increases, it's a loss for me. And if an unrecorded liability suddenly comes into the picture, now again it's a loss for me. But on the other hand, if I have an increase in asset, it's a good thing for me. It's an income for me. Good. Keep it on the credit side. Liability decreases, good for us. Unrecorded asset comes to the picture. Very good. Now, all the good things are on the credit, all the bad things are on the debit. So, if credits are bigger, if credit is more than debit, in that case, we will have a profit. And if debits are more than credits, then we'll have a loss. So, reval account, keep it in your mind as all the things. Amisha, again, cash flow statement is an acronym based thing. I'll try to complete it in here because we have to combine all the three books together in this session. So I will try to impart as much tips as I can. So as soon as I come to the tips part, I will give you some points for CFS as well. Hi, Numan. Good to see you after such a long time. Okay, now what's the weightage of the new discount topic? Numan, in accounts, they never give us weightage topic wise. They always give us a weightage as per the units. So the entire partnership unit is 35 marks, no breakage at all. That's great, Dipansh. That's exactly what I've said. But if we talk about the formal sense, we say debit is all the expenses, losses, credits is all the incomes and gains. But if we talk it in the literal learning way, we say debit all the bad, credit all the good. That's it. Okay. Now, guys, I have seen one major problem that comes into your mind, that is at this time, that is of reconstitution, when you have some discount or something, you don't understand how to put it. For example, if I say a bill of exchange, a BR, was discounted with bank at 10%, and the value of the bill is 20,000. Now, ordinarily, you must put the entry as bank account debit with 18,000, discounting charges debit with 2,000, to bill receivable 20,000. But here the mechanism would be a bit different, because at the time of reconstitution, that is change in PSR, admission, retirement, death, you will always substitute the expense or incomes account with reval. So all you have to do it, make the journal entry in your head, and if there is an expense account or an income account, substitute it with reval. You get it. Banvi, CFS must match if everything is done correctly. But if it does not, you can just retrace your steps from the first point all onwards. And when you revisit a question after doing everything, you generally find there is something that you missed out, or something that you did wrong. Just recheck. You have a method of cross checking. It's so good enough. For other chapters, if there is something wrong, we don't even come to know. CFS is easier for us because we at least get to know there is a gap in our solution. Okay, guys. Now, for goodwill, guys, always remember there are two kind of goodwills. One is the existing goodwill, and the second is the valued goodwill. Now, goodwill which is existing. Now, existing has to be written off, write off, and valued has to go as gaining partner to sacrificing partner. And we cross check at the end when all the other questions are done. Okay. Okay. I'm coming to your question, Karthik, just as soon as I complete the goodwill part. Okay. Goodwill is existing write off, values. Valued goodwill goes to gaining partner to sacrificing partner. You find existing goodwill on the asset side of balance sheet, and you find the valued goodwill as an adjustment. So always remember this. Now, secondly, in admission, people say there are lots of cases of for goodwill in admission. Actually, they are not. In admission, the new partner is always the gaining partner. So instead of debiting his capital account, if he says I'm bringing money for goodwill, you substitute this with premium for goodwill account. That's it. All the cases are solved. If he doesn't bring the money in cash, debit his capital. If he brings the money in cash, debit premium. If he brings partly in cash and partly from capital, premium for goodwill, gaining partner to sacrificing partner. That's it. Now, Karthik and Rajiv, always remember that the timings are 1 mark is equal to 2 minutes. So that means an 80 marker question paper should basically take 160 minutes, and the 20 minutes left at the end are for your revision and as a buffer for any question in which you need to revisit. Okay. Mayank, tell me how to find hidden goodwill. Okay, Mayank. See, hidden goodwill is very easy to find out. The only point is, let us say you are a new partner in a firm and you are bringing 50,000 for your capital. Now, you are bringing 50,000 and you are getting one fourth share. So, according to the capital that you are bringing, the capital of the firm should be obviously 50,000 into 4 by 1, that is 2 lakh. Amisha, I'll come to you just a minute after Mayank. Okay. Now, 50,000 into 4 by 1, that is 2 lakh, should be the capital. But in reality, what we see is that there is another partner A who has a capital of 40,000. There is a capital B, there's a partner B, sorry, who has a capital of 60,000, and you have bought 50. So, how much is the actual capital of the firm as per this? 1,50,000. Right. Now, the point is you are bringing capital as per 2 lakh, but the actual capital is only 50,000. So, the gap between these two is goodwill. Okay, now, Amisha, if you get bad debts and you have to reduce provision for doubtful debts, all you have to do is first, the bad debt will be adjusted towards the provision you already have. And if the bad debt is more than the provision, then the extra amount will go to the reval account. Okay. Now, guys, for the dissolution of partnership firm, we have the realization expenses and partners loan as an important topic. Preparation of realization account as important topic. The actual treatment remain the same. Okay, now what will be the effect on cash flow adjustment when shares are issued in premium? Okay, Ujjwal, in this case, the money coming in for the business is more than the actual value of shares. So let's say the share capital is increasing from 2 lakh to 3 lakh, that is 1 lakh is increasing, but at the same time, it is on a premium of 10%. So that means the money coming in, the cash inflow is 1 lakh 10,000. Now, guys, for realization, always remember there is transfer, there is settlement. So transfer and settlement basically means that for one, you will be transferring all the assets and liabilities. We have the balance sheet with us, there are liabilities, there are assets. You take them to realization cross post. Cross post means liabilities go to credit of realization, assets go to debit of realization. This is known as the transfer stage. After that comes the settlement stage. Now, here again they are cross posted. And finally, after this, they are cross posted again to either partners' capital if the partners are taking them over, or cash or bank. Okay. Karthik, the trick is pretty. See, cash flow statement is right or not, the end value, the closing balance that you bring about with your statement should match with the closing value of cash and cash equivalents given in your balance sheet. Sandhya, if creditors take assets, then there is no journal entry for this because the creditors are already converted into realization. The assets are also in realization. So the entry becomes realization to realization and it cancels out. And Ranjini, topic of minimum subscription. See, minimum subscription of shares only means that 90% of subscription is necessary if we want to issue shares. Okay. And ESOP has been cut from your course this year. Correct, Dipansh. Okay. Now, important topics for financial statements are users, item listing in the balance sheet. Amisha, not so important. Only about 10 marks will be there for that. Then we have analysis where we just have the theory. This chapter comes generally for 1 mark, so not that important, I would say. But comparative and common size comes for 4 marks, so that you have to understand. Then you have ratios, 4 type of ratios: liquidity, solvency, turnover, and profitability. Now, liquidity means They tell us about the short term financial position, whether we'll be able to pay off our current liabilities on time or not. Solvency ratios tell us about our long term solvency, that is, whether we'll pay our long term debts on time or not. Turnover ratios tell us how well the business is operating on a day to day basis. And profitability ratios tell us about our various different levels of profit, that is, operating profit, net profit, gross profit, etc. Now, Sarita, ESOP basically means that the employees are being given an option to purchase the shares of the company due to their association with the company. They are being given the shares at a lesser amount, and the company is bearing the rest of the price. But sweat equity shares are like bonus shares, but they are issued to the employees. Okay, now cash flow statement is actually very important, and debentures. Okay, as I'm seeing a lot of questions are being posted my way for cash flow statement. So, guys, let's come to the cash flow statement only. Now, for cash flow statement, always remember you have operating, you have investing, and you have financing activities. Now, operating activities, we go in the indirect manner, and for the indirect manner, we start with the net profit, which is already given to us as a balance of statement of P&L. Now, after the net profit, you have to come to net profit before RTDX. Now, what is RTDX? Now, R is reserve, T is tax, D is dividend, X is extraordinary items. After this, we add back all the non-operating and non-cash expenses, which are DL PIG, depreciation, loss on sale of fixed asset, preliminary expenses written off, then interest on loans and debentures, and goodwill and other intangible assets amortized. Then we have less for DRIP. These are non-operating and non-cash incomes, which is dividend received, rent received, interest received, and profit on sale of fixed asset or investment. Then you get net operating profit before working capital changes. Now, working capital, we very well know, are CA and CL. So we add decrease in CA, increase in CL, then we less increase in CA, decrease in CL, and we come to net, sorry, then we come to cash generated from operations. From here, we subtract tax paid and we get cash flow from operating activities. Easy, guys. RTDX, DLP, DRIP. Decrease in C, increase in CL, increase in C, decrease in CL, cash generated from operation, less tax. For investing activities relate to fixed assets and investments. So, what do we have to do with fixed assets and investments? Now, for fixed assets and investment, we may have purchase, we may have sale, and from fixed assets or investments, what do we get? We get incomes. Which incomes? We get dry. Dividend received, rent received, and interest received. Investing activities done. Financing activities deal with inflow of funds. Bhanvi, they can be taken as current liabilities or extraordinary items. Both treatments are acceptable as per the boards. Now, financing activities. Financing activities are basically relating with the flow of funds for the business. So here we have raising of funds. Raising of funds means shares, debentures, loans. Now, guys, remember, loans, short term or long term, both come into this category. Even if bank overdraft is there, it comes as loan. Repayment. And finally, what do we pay on shares? Dividend paid. And what do we give for loans and debentures? Interest paid. Fine. Now, going ahead with the topics. Actually, I had thought of all of them to be given as tips, But you people were so concerned about CFS that I talked about CFS all the way around. Okay, so the entire format is there. Go through the session again, because I know here when we are trying to pull in so many things at the same time, I may be going a bit fast for you. So just go through the step by step things again, the entire video, and you will understand it much better. Okay. Goodwill Jyoti, if it decreases, it goes to the DL pick G, and if it increases, then it goes to increase in fixed asset, purchase of fixed asset. Now, question paper design, we very well know this, which we'll have 23 questions. Now, basically, what I want you to know is we'll have an 8 marker question from shares. 100% sure we'll have a 8 marker question from admission, and both of these will have a choice. Otherwise, forget about a choice in your accountancy paper. Okay. Now, last year we had 39.13% easy, 43.48% average, and 17.39% difficult. Now, I would never say that go towards the easy path, always predict the tough, so that when the paper goes off, you will always feel that I had prepared for much more. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the strategy first, to how to prepare in these coming days. Now, today you have a half day only. You can start at 7 p.m. After this, today go towards those topics in which you have the biggest question mark in. That is, the topics in which you have the least amount of confidence on them should be taken up first, because now you still have time. Okay. Conversion is there in course, Aditya. It is surely there. Now, 10 and 11 March, you have to revise the whole syllabus. Concept wise, don't try to rote learn questions in accounts. It will never help you. In accounts, the questions are completely new all the time. And concepts, if they are known to you, you can find your way out of every tricky situation. But if you only learn some questions or some journal entries, you will be in a spot there. Then 12th of March, that is in the middle of the preparation strategy, we would basically advise you to go towards two sample papers, so that you are well prepared with that, and it will be preferential, really beneficial for you if you can take that sample paper to some teacher or some mentor, some sibling who can check it out for you as well. Then 13th and 14th March, pick out the points where you lagged behind on those sample papers, the things that went wrong, the topics that you were not so sure of, or in which you spent a lot of time, and then revise again. Now, guys, particularly speaking about, a lot of people are asking me about time management. The thing is, time is never a problem if the concepts are clear in your mind. Accounts is such a thing that when you start writing, you will never stop. You'll start do it, those questions fast and fast and faster and faster, if you know the concept. But when you are sticking at one question, trying to find out where the answer could be, what should I do here, that takes a lot of time. If you're just doing the questions, it will not take so much of time. So the key is to clarify your concepts, and the time automatically will fall in place. I have all my teachers to back me up on that, that in my entire lifespan of my 11th and 12th, and then graduation, then post graduation, all accounts papers were finished 20 25 minutes before time, with doing all the calculations twice. The difference is that when I started writing from the very first question, it was like, this is the end. Somebody is trying to snatch away my paper. So I was already maintaining my speed from the very beginning. So do that. Okay. And okay, that's great, Tom. Now, questions that you have before exams. Now, how to attempt the questions. First of all, you have to read them very properly. Formats have to be very proper. Even those rupees sign and debit and credit signs are very important here, right? Don't forget them. Write account names and figures very carefully. And then remember ANS, accuracy, neatness, speed. You'll leave one of them, and the entire thing falls off, because accuracy is needed, as we have to have the answers very precise. Neatness is needed so that the examiner can at least read your answers. If the examiner cannot understand what you have written, then what's the use of going giving them anything, right? And speed, because at the end, if you don't finish your paper, that's something. Okay, balance sheet total matches, but with a different amount. Okay, Aryan, basic point is that sometimes the errors are very small. Like, for example, in the entire question, reval, partner's capital, balance sheet, at the reval stage, you wrote one figure as 500 instead of 5,000. Now, that amount will go on in the entire question, right? But in this scenario, the marks would be cut only once for that error. Okay, it is a very clear thing in the marking scheme that if there is a mistake at one point, and due to that mistake the entire question is going wrong, so the student should be penalized only once, not for all the things. Okay, no Jyoti, no short forms are allowed, and that's really a bad thing for us. Not even this and symbol or betweens thing. No, never. Everything has to be written in full. Now, while attempting the paper, you should be calm and composed. You should not leave any question. Obviously, that's something we have to keep in mind if we are talking about the 100%, 100 marks never comes if we have missed a question in between. Reading time has to be carefully taken care of. I would say, first of all, in the reading time, you have to do two things. One, make up your mind whether the beginning questions give you more confidence or the ending questions give you more confidence, so that you finish off with your thought whether you have to go from first to 23 or 23 to 1. You have to stick to the thing. So just go through the beginning questions on both sides. Secondly, you have to take in that reading time, second thing you have to do is go to the choice questions, the 8 marker, two choices, as I told you, share capital and admission. uh, Select the question you are more comfortable in, so that at the time of doing the paper you don't have to stop and think about them. Okay, now Lipsa, how do should you finish pro rata questions in less time? It all depends on practice, dear. Try to practice as much questions as you can, and you will surely increase your speed. No, you cannot do that, because it helps you. If you know the balance sheet is not tallying, you can at least recheck your answer. No. Okay, now, okay. Securities premium. See, Ujjwal, securities premium reserve. It is a reserve. So if you have transferred anything to the securities premium, as for, let us say, the shares have been issued at a premium. So when premium increases, it tells you that some securities have been issued and they have been issued at a higher price. So the inflow is more. Okay. Or which all chapters of accounts that the student have options? Ranjani, the options are in share capital chapter, 8 mark question, and one question which is either admission or retirement choice or admission and dissolution choice. No other choices there. Okay. No, Deepak. Only a one marker question can be there as a theory question. Now, the steps should not be skipped. Formats have to be made properly. I'm skipping to the most important things. Number and the answers and parts correctly. Now, make a margin on every page for rough work. So, your rough work is right with you when you are doing the question, so that you don't have to turn your page around when you do the work on the last sheet. Then, new account should be made on a fresh page always, and go in a sequence 1 to 23 or 23 to 1. Okay, if you don't know a question, just leave some space for it and write down there. Or the second, there are two options. Option 1, leave space and come to it later. Option 2, um, just write down this answer has been attempted at the end and then attempt it. Okay. Now, discount an issue of debenture against adjusted the SPR in cash flow statement. Okay, so basically, let's see. We were right now talking about if the security premium increases, it means the inflow has increased. But when we are talking about SPR decreasing, SPR could decrease due to three factors basically. One factor could be some amount has been transferred from SPR into issuing bonus shares to the people. Second would be that the SPR has been used to write off loss on issue of debentures or discount on issue of debentures. So it would be given to you in the question, and accordingly we will have to consider that. Okay, now I'll just leave this part then, because I have the common errors and how to avoid them with here. Okay, Priyank calls in area under pro rata. Krishna, as I told you before, also you have to just see at that time if section A first five questions are giving you more confidence, then go start from section A, or if the cash flow statement is giving you more confidence, start from the back. Okay. Priyank calls in area under pro rata. See, always remember that when we are talking about calls in area on allotment, there is this adjustment calls in area on allotment when there is pro rata. What you'll do is you'll say, yeah. Okay. Now, calls in area on allotment. How to do this as you are asking me. Now, you'll first calculate how much amount is due on allotment. So, you'll find allotment due, which is shares allotted to the person. Let us say the person is X into allotment due, allotment money. Okay. Now, out of this, you will subtract excess adjusted towards allotment. Now, how much is excess adjusted? Let us say excess of category upon allotted to category into allotted to X. Then you get calls in area. All right, how to prepare the whole topic of accounts in 5 days. Ranjani, I would assume you've already done bulk of it. This is just a revision time. This is not something to do the entire thing again. Okay, as a take a sheet of paper, make a timetable for yourself, which are the topics you're most weak in to the topics you're easiest in, and complete them in that hierarchy only. Start with the weakest, end with the strongest. Now, common errors, let's say whenever you're calculating interest, you have to remember, notice whether the percentage has been given with the word per annum or without. If it is per annum, then consider time. If it is without per annum, ignore the time dimension. Also, whenever the words irrespective of months or average period is given to you, then ignore the time dimension. Now, appropriation and charge. In partnership, appropriation expenses are those expenses that are paid off only when we have a profit, not when we have a loss. So they are posted to P&L appropriation account. These are like IOC, salary, commission to partners, etc. Charges are the expenses that have to be paid regardless of whether we have a profit or not, and they are taken to the P&L account. Now, always remember that interest on partners loan is always a charge against profit. However, IOC is always considered as an appropriation unless and until it is specifically mentioned that it should be treated as a charge. Now, interest on partners loan. Always again remember, loan is separate, capital is separate. Don't try to merge these two aspects. Interest on partners loan will go to partners loan account. Don't take it to current or capital account ever. Now, the shortcut methods, that is the average profit method of calculating IOD, will only be used when there is an equal amount of drawing, and that is at regular interval. So if you are told that the partner withdraws 5,000 at the beginning of every month, amount is fixed, period is fixed, then you can calculate the average, use the average period formula. But if they are telling you that he is withdrawing 1,000 at the beginning of the first one, 2,000 at the ending of the last month, now these kind of things always tell you that it is unequal interval, unequal amount. Take the simple or product method, don't take the average profit method. Now, we always know IOC will be calculated at the opening capital, but sometimes in the question, the date is given at the end of the year. You never pay attention to that, so please pay attention. Almost all my students ignore this fact. So always remember that when there are when closing capital is given to you, you have to reverse back to the opening capital. So for that, all the things that have been added to the capital during the year should be subtracted, and all the items which have been subtracted during the year should be added. So one more thing that we have to consider here is, sometimes you are given the extract of the balance sheet. You all would know the questions. You are given the extract of the balance sheet, and in that it is written that partners capital are this much and this much, and then there's this P&L account or drawing account. If P&L or drawing is given in the closing balance sheet, it means it has not yet been transferred to the capitals. Okay, so you are not going to reverse what has not been done at the first place. It's like the drawing has not yet been subtracted from the capital, and if you try to add it back to the capital, it will make no sense. So if it is still in the balance sheet, it has not yet been adjusted, and if it has not yet been adjusted, you don't have to reverse it. Now, in case of past adjustments, always check if capitals are fixed or fluctuating, because the journal entry which has to be passed would be passed with the current accounts in case the fixed capitals are there, but it will be passed with the capital account if the fluctuating methods are used. Then you have the guarantee thing. Now, in the guarantee, some problem that comes to the fore is that students sometimes think about the guaranteed profit even when the profit is sufficient. Now, guys, if somebody has been guaranteed a profit of 25,000, but his share in profit is already 30,000, then you will not be taking 25, right? Then you will give them the total 30,000 in that case. Okay. Now, while calculating value of goodwill, abnormal losses or gains should be reversed. Now, the realization expense. I know this gives a lot of problems to people. Now, always remember the journal entry is borne to paid. If the expense is borne by firm, debit realization account, but if it is to be borne by the partner, debit partner's capital account. If it is paid by the firm, credit cash account, but if it is paid by the partner, then credit partner's capital account. Now, in the reval account, we have this point of by and to or at. Now, by denotes a change, so that goes to reval. But to or at denotes the new value of the asset or liability, and that goes to the new balance sheet. The old value plus or minus the by value, which will go to reval, will give us the to or at value, which will go to the new balance sheet. And now, guys, talking about the balance sheet format that I was giving, the acronym that I told you, we have equity and liabilities as the sub headings sank. Now, learn it through this method and you will not make a mistake. S is shareholders' funds. It is further divided as SRM, share capital, reserves and surplus, money received against share warrants. A is share application money pending allotment. N is non-current liabilities, which is further divided as LDOL. I prefer to learn it as long doll. Long-term borrowing, deferred tax liability, other non-current liabilities, and long-term provisions. Then C is for current liabilities, which is further broken down as STOS. Short-term liability, trade payable, other current liability, and short-term provisions. Assets are NC, non-current assets and current assets. Non-current assets are further divided as fund low, fixed asset, non-current investment, deferred tax asset, long-term loans and advances, and other non-current assets. Then we have C, current assets, as CITC. So, current investment, inventories, trade receivables, cash and cash equivalents, short-term loans and advances, and other current assets. Now, try to learn it like this, and you will find it very easy to do the first chapter as well as the accounting ratio chapter, because the acronyms are in your head, so the formula revision is also easy. Now, guys, I have a lack of time here, so we'll have to wind up at this point. Best of luck, good luck, all the very, very best for your exam. And whenever you have a doubt, pay attention to the concepts, and you will never have a stick up situation. If you feel that you have to, you found some topic to be rushed up here or something, just view the recording again and do share it with your friends as well, so that it helps them too. It's a board time. Take some good karma with you. Okay, so bye everyone, take care.